We're on your side tonight, highlighting the start of a really important week. Black Maternal Health Week begins today. We told you on Tuesday, according to the CDC, black women are up to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy than white women. But there are even more hard-hitting facts that really put a spotlight on how bad this problem is. WBTV anchor Brigida Mack joins us now to walk through a few of them because they are really important and they really help you understand why we are going to be spending this next week covering this. And Brigida, this is really just part of the problem. There is a much bigger issue across the board for black women when it comes to health.
And when you talk about this particular disparity, it is actually one of the widest of all racial disparities in women's health. By comparison, black women are 22% more likely to die from heart disease than a white woman, 71% more likely to perish from cervical cancer. But get this, 243% more likely to die from pregnancy or childbirth-related causes.
That should give us all pause. Absolutely. Let's talk more about that pregnancy and the death issue. The U.S. In really bad shape when it comes to other countries by comparison.
This really puts it into perspective. According to WHO, the World Health Organization, the disproportionate toll on African Americans is the main reason the U.S. maternal mortality rate is so much higher than that of other affluent countries. For example, black expectant and new mothers in the U.S. die at about the same rate as women in countries such as Mexico and Uzbekistan.
That really does get your attention. So why do experts think this is happening?
There are a lot of reasons, but it's important to point out that socioeconomic status makes no difference. So whether a black woman is lower income or well off, they still die at a higher rate. Black women are also more likely to be uninsured outside of pregnancy. So when Medicaid does kick in, they're more likely to start prenatal care later and then lose that coverage in the critical postpartum period. They're also more likely to have chronic conditions like obesity, diabetes, and hypertension. All of those make having a baby more dangerous. And hospitals where black mamas give birth are often the products of historical segregation. So they're lower in quality than those where white mothers deliver, with significantly higher rates of life-threatening complications. And Jamie, black women are 49% more likely than white women to deliver prematurely. And maternal age is also an important risk factor. Birth outcomes get worse as we age. Those are just the facts. And it starts in the 40s for white women. Sure. But for black mothers, it actually starts in the 30s.
A lot of reasons, obviously, to care about this. You're just highlighting some of the points here. And we also want to look for solutions. And you're going to be bringing us stories that delve into the different facets of this issue over the next week, right? Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm going to be bringing you a preview of all of the different stories that I have lined up. Powerful stories from black mothers who were incredibly candid with me. So I'm excited to share their stories and so that we can really shine a light on this critical issue.
We need to be talking about it, and that's what we're going to do on this program, guaranteed. Again, Black Maternal Health Week begins today, and it runs through next Wednesday. Black women are 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy than white women, and there are a number of reasons why. Brigida will be digging into each of them the next week, and she has a preview for us tonight.
Baby sounds fantastic. 148 is heart tones. Very good.
My godmom for the baby, she had Dr. Cannon, and she recommended this practice because it was all black women who work here. I mean, I think who better relates than someone of your color? I feel like a lot of times we aren't cared for as much as white women, and I'm not sure if I should admit that, but I feel like I'm not shocked about that because you hear stories about black women going to the hospital and giving birth and not going well and not being taken seriously about what they're going through. So I definitely am not shocked by those statistics.
I wouldn't say I know the numbers, but I know, I mean, healthcare wise and getting the care and advice that we need. And I said definitely going to a doctor that looks like me or may understand a little better help me in the process, you know.
I think you have to be able to know and realize that this is a real issue. It's not something that's imaginary. It's something that's been well documented.
And we feel like when we speak up, people think we're having attitude or being like vicious, and we're not. It's just, I feel like sometimes that's why a lot of black women don't speak up. Because if I say something versus another race says something, it's just looked at differently.
We were perceived as angry women, And so speaking up may come across as being angry or upset, so the person may be reserved to want to speak up because they don't want to put that, out there.
Your blood pressure is up a tiny bit from where you normally are. Are you having any headaches, dizziness, blurry vision? No. Everything feels fine? It's really, sometimes people will judge you as soon as you walk in the door and they see your face.
So a lot of times patients will look for us because they want an African American female physician, because they feel like we can identify with them and we can be more able to look after them in the setting of their gender and race.
The purpose of the doula is to be a birth companion to the expectant mother as well as those connected with the mother. We want to diversify the field, so our aim is people of color.
Why?
Honestly, there's a different flavor, or there's a different response, there's a different connection when you have someone in the room who looks like you.
If I see another person of color, I feel somewhat comfortable because I know that they're going to be looking out for my best interest and not, the other way around. And that's where my inspiration to become a doula comes from, my personal birth story.
So the stress that we just incur every day as Black women can put us at risk.
It's just a different stress that we're under than they are. We're stressed about our kids at home, kids at school, our Black men. Whatever it takes, our stress is different from their stress.
I think that it's a lot easier for an African American physician to understand the issues that an African American patient might be facing, especially when it comes to, stressors, dietary changes that need to be made, just kind of what it's like to be an African American in this country.
Some powerful messages here in all this. Brigida is going to be working on these stories. She's good enough to stop by tonight to talk more about it. Yeah. First of all, hearing the heartbeat thing kind of takes me back as a parent and being in that room and hearing that for the first time. It is supposed to be the happiest thing in your life, and it is obviously for everyone. But the stress that goes into this for many of these mothers is really something powerful to hear, because I think, let's be honest, people who look like me don't think about this at all.
And have the luxury of not having to think about it.
Right. Absolutely. But I noticed as you were asking the sort of uncomfortable question at times, there was a pause. Like they're almost afraid to say something, but then they did. Talk to me about that.
They were hesitant, very much so. You saw the young mom, 24 years old, first-time mom, Nicole Freeman, and she said, and I said, just be honest. Yeah. Because it's one thing to talk about race in the privacy of your own home with other people that look like you, but to be talking about this on camera, knowing it's going to be broadcast, gave these women pause. But at the same time, they recognized how important it is to shine a light on this issue, so they were willing to.
Good morning, Nicole. How are you?
24-year-old Nicole Freeman is expecting her first child, a boy, this summer.
Good morning, kiddo.
She's been amazing and very patient and very attentive to me.
She's quite candid about why she chose Arboretum Obstetrics and Gynecology, an all-Black women practice in Southeast Charlotte.
I think who better relates than someone of your color, and who's been able to go through that with you and knows what you're going through and knows it's just different than versus a white woman going through what I'm going through.
It's a sentiment Dr. Octavia Cannon, a 20-year veteran, admits she hears often.
I hear that a lot, but I do take pride in the fact that we are, we try to be all things to all women, but we certainly have a kinship for women of color.
But it's more than just a kinship. As a Black mother, having a doctor who looks like you could be the lifeline that keeps you alive. Nothing protects Black women from dying in pregnancy and childbirth at a rate of nearly 4 times that of white women. Not education, not income, not even celebrity status, given the stories of Serena and Beyonce's harrowing childbirth-related complications.
So either they're going to ignore things that you think are serious, and they really are serious, based virtually on the color of your skin, or they're going to assume that you're going to be a hypochondriac, or they're going to assume that you don't care about your family because of your race.
And racial bias does play a role. In 2017, the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology acknowledged that in its statement of policy, saying medicine is beset with implicit and explicit racial bias, and that the field of obstetrics and gynecology has engaged in practices that were very harmful to women of color. The ACOG went on to say the racial and ethnic disparities in women's health cannot be reversed without addressing racial bias, both implicit and explicit. We recognize that structural and institutional racism contribute to and exacerbate these biases, which further marginalize women of color in the healthcare system. Biases that doctors Cannon Page and Freeman Kwaku fight against every day.
We might get into the stigma of the angry black woman. You know, why does she have such an attitude? But sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's fear. Many times you will find that patients are angry or upset, or they may even not even be angry or upset, they just come across that way. But it's often fear, or fear of the unknown, or uncertainty, or discomfort, or pain, or worry. Yeah, look at that kid growing, very nice.
That fear of being misunderstood and it subsequently affecting the quality of care is what led Nicole to seek out Dr. Cannon.
So I think having someone that knows you're not just trying to be like having an attitude. This is how I feel. But I feel like we get that stigma so much that it just helps to have another black woman to talk to, because who better understand you than another black woman.
An understanding Dr. Mala Freeman Kwaku believes physicians not of color don't prioritize enough.
When your patients complain of things, that you have to understand that, you know, you want to take all of your patients seriously, but especially when you know that this particular group often has poor outcomes, that you want to be extra careful in taking some of their concerns.
Concerns Nicole can be assured are being heard at every visit, so she's free to focus on the joy this special time brings.
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
So he's really, really active. He's probably kicking me a little bit right now.
Tonight, WBTV anchor Brigida Mack introduces us to this mother who thought everything was going smoothly until she was 26 weeks pregnant. Her story is a testament to the risks many black women face.
Ariel, not right now. She's trying to break out of here.
Looking at little Ariel Jackson today, it's hard to believe this precocious 2-year-old entered the world unannounced some 4 months early.
She was 1 pound, 13 ounces when she was born, just a little old thing.
Despite her tiny stature, Mom Anika says her firstborn came out fighting.
And feisty from the beginning, with pulling cords and noticing that she's doing stuff that she shouldn't be able to do at such a young little age.
Now expecting her second child with husband Desmond, she still recalls the moment her routine pregnancy went sideways.
So that's when I really started, like, okay, and this panic setting in, and oh my God, is she gonna be okay?
You see, the couple struggled to conceive and turned to a fertility specialist for help. Initially, Anika says the pregnancy was a breeze, even with her chronic hypertension.
My blood pressure was doing well. I was coming in, no real concern at all. So this was a big shock. I got home and started having some contractions, but didn't know it was contractions.
Then came the bleeding. At just 26 weeks, she called the team at Arboretum Obstetrics and Gynecology, who told her to go straight to the hospital.
So she said, you know what, we're going to send you to CMC Maine, so just in case, if you're too early to deliver at this hospital, so we're going to get you transported.
Anika believes that decision was critical to not only her survival, but Ariel's as well, something she attributes to being cared for by doctors who look like her.
That was definitely key, and so even the transfer from hospital to hospital, that thinking I'm glad that I had someone who was like, let's go.
After 48 hours of bed rest in the hospital, the longest doctors felt comfortable delaying her delivery, Ariel arrived.
My husband said he'll never forget the look on my face when the doctor said, oh, we're about to deliver the baby. And she came right back, and it was a group of 20 people in to assist.
But the weeks her daughter spent in the NICU, coupled with the mystery surrounding Ariel's dramatic arrival, made the couple hesitant to give her a sibling.
Even the point of thinking about having another baby, just not knowing really what made Ariel come, so early.
Yet here she is, now 33 weeks along with baby boy Jackson.
So we're really glad to get to this point. I always say when I have high-risk patients especially, I use kind of 32 weeks as my mental window, because if I get to 32, then I'm like, well, let's get to 34.
It's why Dr. Mala Freeman-Kwaku is watching Anika so closely, bringing her in every week.
We're just getting you on the monitor here. And we're going to keep you on here for 20 minutes, okay?
To monitor her son's heart rate.
Because what we want to make sure in a woman who has high blood pressure is that we see signs of reassurance. And one sign would be that as the baby moves, the heart rate should go up.
While Freeman-Kwaku says that's standard for high-risk pregnancies, to Anika, it's just another reason why she gravitated to doctors who look like her.
I think in the end, we really want us all to succeed, and it's a sisterhood, you know what I mean? So to have that, it's very valuable that you may not get everywhere else.
I think we heard Anika mention there that she believes doctors making that decision to get her to CMC Maine, she called it Atrium Maine now that we know it by. Did the doctors feel like, too, that was just a critical decision to make in that moment?
Yes, they said they didn't want to take any chances, even though she had that small amount of bleeding and mild contractions. Jamie, initially, Anika was not dilated when she first came to the hospital, but her doctors recognized what could go wrong. And I think that's key to point out. And they decided to move her to be on the safe side. Yeah. So by the time she gets to Atrium Maine, by ambulance no less, she's already begun dilating.
Right, and seconds matter in all of these cases, absolutely. You also mentioned that she has chronic hypertension. Why is that a big deal in a pregnancy?
Well, high blood pressure is one of the most serious and potentially deadly complications that women, especially black women, can suffer from during pregnancy. And Jamie, you saw the puffiness around Anika's eyes, if you noticed that. Well, that's a byproduct of her high blood pressure, which is exacerbated during pregnancy. Sure. So a woman's blood volume increases by some 40% while pregnant. In fact, Dr. Freeman-Kwaku rattled off, which I found very impressive, what Anika's blood pressure was the week before, and she noted the day that we were there that it was higher.
So she's paying attention closely.
She wanted to make sure that there wasn't any protein in her urine, so they had her do that test because that's a potential sign of preeclampsia, which we know can be deadly.
And we also heard Dr. Freeman-Kwaku say everything she was doing is sort of standard for high-risk pregnancy. Is that right?
It is, but from all the research and all of the black women who have reached out to share their stories with me over the past week, it doesn't always happen. Dr. Freeman-Kwaku also said that's the beauty of them having that smaller practice. They see the same patients every week, and so they can notice those little details like added puffiness around the eyes, or even Nika's hands were a little more swollen than Dr. Freeman-Kwaku liked.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, to again recognize it early and right away and get her in the right program. More women need to stick around for this. It's been a really important series, Brigitte. I appreciate you bringing it to us. And I know you're going to keep reporting on it as well because it's just such an important issue.
We are. We're going to keep following this because at the end of the day, I just wanted to educate and empower women to advocate for themselves, to know that they have choices, to demand the care they deserve.